So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Top 3 worst iPhones to buy right now. Now, keep in mind when I say that, I'm talking about if you're like going to look to buy one right now. If you already have one of these, you know, I'm not trying to say your phone is trash. I'm just trying to say somebody looking to buy a phone right now, I wouldn't recommend any of these phones. And a lot of these were some of my most recommended options ever in the past. I covered them multiple times and I'll continue to cover them in terms of those people who still need support, but I can't recommend buying these now. We'll begin with number 1, which is the Apple iPhone 7 series, launching way back in 2016. This phone is around about 5 years, 6 years old now. So it's definitely up there. You know, it came out about 6, later this year it'll be 6. So, you know, it's still getting iOS 15, but this phone right here, there's just a lot that makes it feel quite old. And that's going to be number 1, the home button, which is still on the newer SE, but that already kind of feels dated in their lineup. We have this wider kind of feel, these thicker bezels here on the iPhone 7 Plus. The cameras, while still usable, they're nowhere near today's standards. Even cheaper Android phones will outshine something like an iPhone 7 Plus. Granted, it still feels quite nice. It doesn't feel like no cheap device, anything like that. And it's still usable, but it's just something I wouldn't recommend picking up. You know, you're probably not gonna find this too high of a price, but you're just going to be wanting for more. You know, it doesn't have the greatest battery life. I find during gaming, it does heat up, but the A10 is still really good enough to run just basic everyday functions and applications. I just wouldn't recommend picking this up right now. Neither would I on the iPhone 7. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't recommend picking up any iPhone besides the iPhone SE with this type of design. And that moves me on to my second worst option I would say to pick up, and that's going to be the iPhone 8. Yes, because of this right here. The iPhone 8 did get reincarnated with the Apple iPhone SE 2020, and they're probably going to launch another version of this year. So you would just be doing yourself a disservice to get the iPhone 8. Yeah, it has similar battery life, but you have an older camera setup. You have an older, you know, overall feel to the phone just because of the processor being a little bit older. A11 Bionic is still okay. But still, you know, why buy this? Why put your money down on this right here when you could just get the iPhone SE for a cheap price as well? And finding these used is pretty cheap as well, you know, and just have a more modern A13 CPU. In addition to that, you will get, you know, 4K 60 video as well on this iPhone 8, but just the overall performance of the camera and video was just better for the iPhone SE. So I'd recommend, again, if you're looking for this body style, just steer towards the iPhone SE. And if you want to wait, you want something like this, you can wait until the iPhone SE of this year, see what happens there. But that's the second worst option. And the final one, I feel like people are going to want to fight me on this one because it's still a beautiful device. It was a game-changing device for Apple, but the iPhone 10. And remember, I'm talking in the perspective of right now. I just don't recommend you pick this up. This is a gorgeous classic device because it's just something that changed the way their designs looked. But now they went to the squared edges. Granted, this one still runs definitely good enough for day-to-day usages and applications, and the cameras are actually still quite good given the right lighting on the iPhone 10. There's nothing really terrible at all about this phone. It was in fact a $1,000 phone. But here's the reason why. There's been like 4 iterations of this phone after this. The iPhone XR, 11, and 12, 13, that's 4, made a little bit of a larger but more budget design of iteration of this design. The iPhone XS, the iPhone 11 Pro, the iPhone 12 Pro, and now the 13 Pro. There's 4 more versions of this type of phone in front of this, and they're all, you know, except for the 13 Pro, which is the current model, they're all gonna be a little bit cheaper. You can find them used at a decent price. So this is kind of like the rock bottom of those lineups. So this is one of the worst options when it comes to picking up this right now. And if you try to trade in your iPhone 10 right now, you're only going to get like $200 for it because it's just that old. So while it was a beautiful iPhone for its time is up, I feel like, in terms of recommending picking this device up, because there's just so many iterations of this that are just better than the iPhone 10. So I don't recommend that one either. So those are my 3 worst iPhone options I would say to pick up. You might be wondering, well, you mentioned the iPhone 8, what about the 8 Plus? The iPhone 8 Plus hasn't really been replaced. They kind of just went to the Max devices. So, you know, that one is, some people have a really good place in their heart with the 8 Plus, but still, I probably would steer clear of that as well. Wait to see if Apple does bring like a larger iPhone SE or something like that. But yeah, these are some of the options I just don't recommend anymore. That doesn't mean I won't cover them. I will cover these phones in some future videos, maybe comparing them, looking at revisited video, how they perform, stuff like that. But they're just not recommended if you're trying to purchase an iPhone today in January 2022. Again, if you have these phones, I'm not trying to say your phone is trash, it don't work. People are gonna get in the comments saying, oh, my phone still works fine. This guy don't know what he's talking about. I didn't say your phone didn't work. I said that if you're looking to buy a new iPhone, these are not recommended. The iPhone 7 series, the iPhone 8 series, and the iPhone 10. Now the 10s, the 10R, the 11, those are a little bit of a different story. The 12, 13, those are a different story. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know down below in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.